Hello, you beautiful people. I am sitting on my stoop. The light is good. Um, I want to do a video on the same topic as I did a Facebook Live. The Facebook Live has already been watched by 280 or some number like that people. But it's Facebook Live and I didn't save it because I didn't know. So anyway, here I am, same content, but I just need to put this on YouTube. So this is why I'm doing this. So I'm Audrey, your favorite pot dealer, your preferred pot dealer. I have been selling pots since 1998. Oh my word. Okay. The aeroplane went over, so if you want a drink, you can have one now. Okay, so I've been selling pots since 1998, not pot that you smoke and not cooking pots, not AMC. I've been asked this question so many times and people don't understand why do I sell pots? Like, what is there to know about pots? So many years ago when I started out, I had a website done and I classified my product according to materials used. At the time, nobody cared. It looks like people care now. So I'm going to, so this is just a broad overview of what pots are about. And so pots get classified, in my opinion, into different categories, and we have the materials that the pots are made of, the materials used in manufacturing, the method of manufacturing, the size of the pots, is it used for indoor or outdoor, other uses, what habitat is it used for, like, is it at the coast or is it inland, or what do you use it for, or the surrounds of it, the price points and the shape. So I went into, now the previous video was 50 minutes long. I didn't mean for it to be that long. I didn't feel that great that day. So it looks like it's going to be a bit shorter today, hopefully. Okay, so the materials used can be, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 broad categories, and then every category has subcategories. Okay, so the first thing I discussed, or that I was chatting about, is most of the pots that you'll find if you go to a normal garden center is made out of cement. So cement can be broadly separated into two categories: heavy cement and cement fiber. So I know that there's been requests for me to do an in-depth on cement. I haven't done it yet. I will do it on video, I promise. So heavy cement basically means that way back when I started in the day, the pots available on the market were made of a cement and stone and sand mixture. It's kind of like the foundation of your house. The pots were very heavy. They chipped easily and they were quite small because they were so difficult to move around. Then the need, due to fashion, arose for pots to be bigger. People wanted to use them as water features and all kinds of other things. The heavy cement pots, the factories, did a little bit of research. Now, cement is enormously interesting. Cement is, in America, people do, you can bend cement, you can add additives, you can color it, you can make it fluorescent, you can, it's almost infinite what you can do with it. In South Africa, we still have a little bit to go. So basically what the people started doing, the factory started doing, is they started adding fibers, which was either cement fiber or glass fiber or other things, to the cement mixture, taking out the stones, and this way we got a stronger product that was still that was lighter weight and that could be made in a bigger format, so that we could end up having like not exactly 2 meters. Yeah, there are pots that's just about 2 meters high. So and that's how that came about. So the method of manufacturing have I discussed. Okay, so let me talk about that at the same time as the materials used. So basically what happens in the manufacturing process, these pots are made in molds. So a mold can be made out of silicone, or it can be made out of fiberglass, or it can be made out of various things. Molds are expensive to manufacture. This is the reason that you see the same old pots still on the market from 155 years ago, because the factories are still using the same molds. That's basically the long and the short of it. So what they're doing is, so there's a mold. Now, in the cement fiber thing, it's normally like a two sides thing. So you have the mold, that's like clamped together, so that like two halves of an egg. I don't know, an egg is one thing. Anyway, two halves of the pot shape, and then clamp together, and then they slap the cement on the inside. So you don't really need a lot of high-skilled staff to do this. The materials are not, it's expensive, but it's not very, very expensive. So you can make a product for a reasonably, I'm using the word cheap very sparingly, price. You'll see why I'm stressing this point now, just in a little while. The heavy cement pots is manufactured in a slightly different fashion. They are manufactured with an inner and an outer mold. So you have like, I don't know, say you've got a bowl from the kitchen and then a smaller bowl, and then so you pour the cement and then you put the smaller one in, and then you leave it to set, and then you take away the molds, and that's how the heavy cement things work. Described very, very simplistically. So okay, so what else can I tell you about cement? Well, it's just the most widely used product on the market. You can do lots with it. You can do lots in it. Like I described, the chemical things that can happen. What you do need to remember about cement is that you must be careful where you buy from. Cement needs to cure, which means that after a cement pot is manufactured, after that process of the mold and the cement being slapped on the sides, and then the heavy one, and then the mold being removed, that vessel that is now there needs to be submerged in water or sprayed with water or something, because cement is really a crystal that grows, and the curing process takes a while. So I'm not, if you're very technical on cement, please, you are welcome to make a comment. This is my video, so you can't. But basically, it's like a certain percentage of curing happens within, say, the first, I think, 6 days, and then another percentage of curing happens over the next few weeks. And cement is actually only fully cured over a couple of years, but you can. So you shouldn't buy. You shouldn't. That's why pots then crack later on, if they are, one of the reasons. There's lots of reasons, which is not all to do with the pot, that I can make a whole video about. But your pots that are not properly cured, it doesn't have that strength that it needs to. Cement pots that hasn't been cured. Okay, so the next thing on my list here is clay. Clay pots can be thrown, it can be coiled, or it can be slab work. The other day I was watching a thing on YouTube, and they also talk about pinching, but I don't think that's a way to make clay, like birdies and little things, but not, I don't know that you could use pinching for pots. Again, if you're a potter and you want to rectify, you want to make a comment, you're welcome. So basically, okay, the different ways of producing a clay pot. You throw a pot, so you have a wheel, a potter has a wheel. and you've got a piece of clay, and you throw it on the wheel, and the wheel spins, and you manipulate it into the shape of a pot. Coiling means you roll out the clay like we used to play when we were little with clay. Now clay is actually mud from the rivers, so that clay you can roll into a worm, and then the coil, the worm, gets put on a base, and then you build up your pot and you work it off. That's how one way. There are lots of pots that are manufactured that way. Slab work is where you roll out the clay like you would if you would be baking, like pastries, and then you join the edges. Now, slab work is very, very, very difficult to do. You need an enormous amount of skill for all of this, but slab work in particular, a lot can go wrong in the firing process. It gets fired in a kiln. You use the kiln works. It's like a big oven. It's not. My potter friend said to me the other day that a client was waiting for a pot, and she said she's baking it. And an hour later, he phoned and said, "So, is the pot ready?" And she said, "No, you don't understand. The kiln is this big oven that needs to be heated with gas, wood, or electricity." And in South Africa with load shedding, that must be delightful, being a potter. Wood is an enormous amount of work and skill, again, because you need to get the fire to be, I think that lowest temperature to fire pots at is about 800, and it can go up to well, I don't know, over 1,000, 1,200. I'm not sure exactly. This gets very, very, very technical. But you can imagine what effort it takes to chop wood and put it into that the combustion chamber of the kiln of the oven, to get it to that temperature. Then you need to keep it at that temperature, and then you need to till the pots are fired, and the potter only knows when that's happened. There's also lots of technical things around that, and then it needs to cool down slowly. So the firing of a clay pot can take a week. Our oven can take a week to get going, to fire and to cool down, and then you've got to take things out. So it's a very, very long process. If you've now got now we've got clay. Okay, we spoke about clay. Now under clay there is terracotta. I did a video on terracotta already. That's on YouTube, that you can go and watch. So terracotta is the Italian word for baked earth, which means that, well, obviously it means baked earth, but it's a specific clay fired at a specific temperature. Okay, so what now happens is sometimes you put a slip on. Now a slip is like a it's like a thin down color mixture. Okay, that you put on the body of the clay, and you fire it, and that's when a pot is glazed, or that's when you talk about a ceramic pot, when it's a clay vessel that's got a bit of color on it. Okay, now this is very, 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 very difficult to do. The clay has various properties. It shrinks in the oven. You need to understand. The clay has a different way that it behaves under heat than the slip, so you need to understand what slip to use on what clays, and how to make sure that there's a bond. And it's an incredibly, incredibly, incredibly beautiful and fabulous process. And any item, even your coffee mug, is a special thing, because that took a lot of skill to manufacture. Clay then can also, at varying temperatures, there is technical terms for clay vessels, which include stoneware, earthenware, porcelain, brick. So basically, stoneware is, I think, fired at a much higher temperature than I would guess terracotta, and it produces a very So what happens in the firing process is clay, the mud that is harvested from the rivers, melts kind of into a sort of like a glass substance. So when the temperature is not very high, there's still like little holes in between the um, the the clay, and that is what makes terracotta so fabulous. It's able to absorb water. It lets plants that grow in terracotta pots breathe. When you get to stoneware and earthenware, those are the things that you can buy to bake in. That's the cooking. You can also do cooking in those, especially in earthenware, I think, and that means that the particles are tight, so your vessel becomes like glass. Now, all of this I have discussed. Well, not yeah, I have discussed this in the terracotta video. So with like samples. So I don't want to do that in this video. What I also do want to just talk about is the African pots. African pots is not fired like Venda pots are not fired in a kiln. They are fired in a hole in the ground, massive holes in the ground, like we would bake fish when we go to the coast. So what happens is they make a big hole, they make fire, again, not as high as probably 800 degrees, because it's just, well, it's just almost like a bryflies fire, and then they put the clay pots in there. Now the difference between another difference between African made pots and Venda pots and Western made pots is the clay used for Venda pots are not purified. This means that the clay is harvested from the river, all clay is harvested from the river, but pots that are used in the Western way with a kiln, that clay is purified. The clay that is used for Venda pots is not purified. So there is particles in there. There's bird shit in there and chicken shit and all kinds of little sticks and stones and different things. So the chances of a Venda pot surviving the firing process in one piece is kind of 10%. So for every pot that you would possibly get to buy somewhere, 10 pots were broken. So it is an incredibly fascinating thing. The patterns, the shape that they make them in, the patterns they use, the way that they decorate them, all of that is unbelievable. It is so stunning. And it's very cultural, and like I said I did a video on the Venda pots. You buy a little bit of culture when you buy if you buy any clay pot, really. I also have a selection of 100-year-old Spanish pots, and I've got a page on Facebook called Amphora about that, and I did a lot of research, and we made videos specifically on that, and the whole process of how that relates back to life in Spain and the weather and all of this. It is it's so wonderful, and I get so excited about this. Okay, so then another material that pots can be bought in is wood. I've only really got experience in wine barrels, oak wine barrels. You can. When you buy wood, you must be very, 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 very careful. Wood in Gauteng it needs a lot of maintenance. If you have wooden decking or garage doors or wooden window frames, you'll know it warps. It needs to be oiled and sanded and things from time to time, and wooden planters would be exactly the same. Wine barrels is real oak that contained a liquid, the wine, and therefore it just works. It's beautiful. If you have a cycad, if you need a planter for for a cycad or a big plant, a wine barrel is an absolute beautiful thing. And but yeah, if you're at the coast, then you can be a little bit more adventurous. But here in Gauteng, I would be careful. Glass, I see that there's I've spent most of my career on the like more outside. I'm now also selling indoor plants, so I'm getting more into the indoor trends and stuff. So there are lots of like options, like kind of terrarium things. Is that the right word? So you get, yeah, so yeah, I hope it's the right word. But you know, so you can create little ecosystems in a glass bottle or something like that. So glass can be incredibly beautiful. I saw a ad, and actually a client showed me there's a like a glass thing that fits on a on a wooden base, like a piece of driftwood. And it's very, very beautiful. I haven't planted one up, but I would definitely like to. Cast iron. In my career, I sold cast iron. I haven't seen a cast iron product for sale for a while, but that would be a material that you could purchase a pot in. They are, I think, more expensive because they are mainly imported. The pots in this range is also more classic in shape, which means there's more frills and, you know, that kind of thing. And that does go with a lot of homes. It's actually the round in landscaping is come back in a big way. So there you go. Okay, then there's steel. So steel can be used in different ways, and there's like also a lot to be said about steel. So you can have steel sheets, or you can have woven steel. Like, you know, you could like have strips that you could like almost, it's woven. You can have pots made in mild steel, which will rust. Then you can have galvanized. I love galvanized. Galvanized steel pots is, for me, it doesn't have the same look as a proper stainless steel pot, but you get it at an absolute fraction of the price. And there is so many possibilities. We also have been manufacturing galvanized steel containers for bases for water features, because it doesn't leak, it doesn't rust. Unless you make a hole in it, then it will rust, and then you break that seal on it. Then stainless steel, which I just briefly mentioned. Stainless steel is also not just stainless steel. You get lots of different grades of stainless steel. You get stainless steel that is used in hospitals. You get stainless steel that your sink is made of in your kitchen. You get stainless steel that can rust. So buying just stainless steel doesn't guarantee that your pots won't rust. So how they get around this, because of the cost of stainless steel, is they make a lot of aluminium pots. Most of the pots that you see nowadays would actually not be made of stainless steel, even though it looks like it. It's actually aluminium. So aluminium is it's a very durable product. It doesn't rust. You can use it by the coast. You can use it in Gauteng. It's not quite as expensive, and it gets used. Copper is a product that I've not really worked with, but I've loved it. I mean, I consumed so many Pinterest pictures of copper sheeting and copper walling, and so if you want to do a project with copper pots, please give me a call and we'll make it happen. So okay, so then I have size. So size is, I just want to point out that people have no idea how big things are, or they can't relate that back to actual something centimeters or metric in any way. So just as a guideline, when a pot is approximately knee height, and okay, so different people, you get very tall people and you get very short people, just kind of on average, your knee is approximately 50 centimeters from the ground. So if you're thinking of getting a pot and you're Googling, which is what we all do, and you're looking at sizing, 50 centimeters is approximately your knee. If you're looking at something a bit higher towards your waist, you're looking at approximately a meter. And if you are looking at something that's a little bit higher than that, say where your boobs are, now this is all the men will know because we know where the boobs are, that's about 1.2 meters high. So so if you're Googling and if you're trying to relate things back to size, I also designed a A1 cube pot, which is a meter by a meter by a meter, and people phone for costing, and then I tell them, and then they almost have a heart attack, and then I say, but why are you needing such a big pot? Do you understand do you understand how big this thing is? A meter by a meter by a meter. It takes a ton of soil. So that's just to give you kind of an idea. And then there is indoor or outdoor use. Now the indoor, this I will do a complete video on because it's a very interesting topic. The indoor use of pots go together with a liner. There's a special liner that's actually been designed by South Africans like 30 years ago. And that would be the way that's what you see at all the office blocks. It's got, if you're sitting waiting at the doctor's or at any business meeting in reception, the planters, they have a little black pipe sticking out. That's part of the special liner. Oh, excuse me. So outdoor, you cannot use that system. I've seen this. People do this. Landscapers do this. Hopefully due to ignorance. They put the liner outside, and the liner is a sealed unit. When it rains, the plants will drown. And if it's a plant that doesn't like too much water, it will die. So that's that. I've been consuming quite a bit of trend videos and information and so on. So I have seen that landscaping has or pots, or how do I say this? The trend in pots, or let's say in potland, has changed. We don't have a lot of changes, but we're having one right now, and the trend is for softer shapes, for rounds. So there was so in the past there were specifically moves towards the squares and the tapers and those things. Everything in design now is soft. Everything in interior decorating is soft. It's circles and round corners and things like that. So that works its way right through to pots as well. So we were at 27 minutes, and I think I covered most of what I did in my other video, and I covered what I wrote down to say. So so this is my overview of my 20-something years of experience in the pot industry, and what a little bit of information on a broad spectrum of things. And the plan is to expand on the various topics in greater detail. But I can't do that in one go because it will just take too long. So I'm going to say goodbye. You could look me up on my website, www.ineden.co.za, and watch out for my next video. Have a wonderful day. Bye.